We just watched Alabama get blown out in the SEC championship, but we're going to make the case that they'll beat Oklahoma on the road this week. And from Texas to Vanderbilt and BYU Notre Dame, why did your favorite team get left out of the playoff? All that and more right here on Fire TV's College Football Kickoff. You're watching Fire TV's College Football Kickoff, presented by California Almonds, the unofficial snack of football. It's shaped like a football, fuels like a champion. Join us every week as we predict who will deliver when crunch time hits. Snack good, eat almonds. I'm your host, Drake Toll, from Locked On Big 12 and the Savannah Bananas organization, and we're coming in hot from the heart of college football country in Dallas, Texas. On set with me, two legends, 22-time Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former Tar Heel and Dallas Cowboy Jesse Holley. Every week throughout the season and now the postseason, we'll be right here breaking down the matchups, the moments, and the madness with expert analysis from across the nation. Look for new episodes every Thursday on your Fire TV and Echo Show devices. This is your all-access pass to the weekend ahead in college football. Let's kick it off. Jesse, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Man, it's good to see you.
Yeah, I like that right there.
Coach, you look great.
Holidays.
A lot of these teams that are the outside looking in is where I want to start. Jesse, we'll get to you thinking that Alabama will upset Oklahoma in Norman here in a bit. But first, let's go to our rankings report. Coach, it's our first opportunity to talk about the teams that got left out. What an absolute dumpster fire. The committee tells us for weeks on end that Notre Dame's above Miami. At midnight, they switch it. BYU's got a better strength of schedule and strength of record than both of those teams. They're not sexy enough. We've talked about that, Jesse. You said they just didn't have that logo appeal. They get left out. Texas just beat the #1 team. They get left out. Vanderbilt's left out. Coach, what are we doing?
Well, it's the whole journey, right? That's why that all happened.
I want off. Get me off
Texas,
the journey.
Yeah, I know. Texas said, we're the Wizard of Oz and the yellow brick road, right? We're following the yellow brick road. Well, at the end of all of them have an argument. I mean, BYU has an argument, Texas has an argument, Notre Dame has an argument, Vanderbilt has an argument. At the end of the day, there's one part of this journey that didn't add up, and so that's why they're where they're at. And there's always going to be somebody, just like in 14, it was TCU. There's always going to be somebody that's not happy. I agree with something Jesse said a couple weeks ago last time we were all together. Hey, probably going to go to 24 teams. You talk to guys out there, it's a certain percentage of 136.
Yeah.
Just like in Division II and 1AA, there's a certain amount of teams. But here's it, even when we go to 24, then there's going to be a 25th and a 26th. There's always going to be one of those. It's going to be, I'm sure, the teams that are right now, and I'm saying this because I was one of those groups at Tulane or James that are playing Tulane and James Madison. Yeah. Because on paper they don't add up as well as all the rest of the games do, as far as when you look at their rosters. But at the end of the day, you still have to play them. And if you can get through them, then I think it gives them an advantage, to be honest with you, going into their next matchups in the following 10 days.
So, Jesse, this is what the system is. Yep. Right? It's not like anybody skirted. It's not like we cheated, we faked you out here. We built a 12-team invitational. We are now inviting a dozen teams to compete for a national championship. Formerly in the BCS era, you had to be the best team in the nation at winning one game. Then it was 2 games. Now it's multiple games. You have to have a tournament-style football team. Ohio State last year lost to Michigan. Maybe Texas this year loses to Florida, but has a good tournament-style football team hot at the right time. We have told you the toothpaste is out of the tube. No longer do you have to be the best team in college football. You must be the best suited to win a tournament-styled bracket.
And that's why college football is flawed. We don't have this in any other sport but college football because the goalpost keeps moving. We keep talking about the games, and then there's all these different things that are in this, who had the strength of schedule, who had this, and who had that. Now it's a conference, and now it's, of course, it's TV viewership and who brings the most. It's a flawed system across the board. And I don't know if we'll ever have the answer on what the proper way to do this. This is one of those things that has long been an issue for college football, and we just still haven't gotten to a place of correcting the issue and the problem. And while we love the game, and we love football, and we love watching college football, no one's going to be satisfied because with 12 teams, the 13th team is going to be mad. We do 16 teams, the 17th team is going to matter. We do 24, the 25th team is going to be upset. I don't know how you fix this or how you do this, and everybody will have their opinions on this. It is the way that it is, and at the end of the day, if you want to find yourself in the number that is going to compete for a college championship, go win all the football games that you can. Period. That's the only solution to this for any team that's trying to do this. Go win all your football games.
Yeah.
Well, and then, so I did my homework too, and so
Me and Drake
you talk to the commission, you talk to the group, and you start talking. Then you find out that all the commissioners, not just of the Big Ten and the SEC and all of them, all the commissioners got together and they have their guidelines of how this 12-team group should be put together. Okay, and so that's how James Madison and that's how Tulane get into it. They get into it because it's not everybody's. Well,
let me ask you this, Coach. You said they all have their own guidelines. Is that based under one rule, or are there 12 different guidelines?
No, they all get from what it did that the commissioners all get together. They gave the group, the committee. Here's your guidelines to how you
There's
get
cohesion. No coach is right.
12 to right. So everybody's coming down on the committee. But at the end of the day, the committee's just doing. They get X amount of teams they know are the best, and then you get down to here's the guidelines, and this is how James Madison, this is how Tulane, this is how people get into it. So I think people need to understand everybody's, because I've looked at the groups that are on there. You got a 4-star general. I mean, you got people on there that are very credible of kind of people they are.
Right.
Like
you said,
they were
4-star general.
Yeah, I mean,
look, I love it. If I'm in the Navy, hell yeah, I want that guy.
Yeah.
If I'm playing Navy, I probably don't want him as my coach.
But the whole key is coming down to having the credibility of understanding they're going to do the right thing. That's for me. That's the kind of group that I like. But if they're also going to be the ones that are going to follow the rules of how you need to be. You're going to put things together, and that's what we have with this 12 game. You're going to have the same thing when you go to 24 or 16. You're still going to have until the committee can just say, okay, this is what you hired us for, and you don't. By the way, you don't pay us. Yeah. We're doing this. We're flying in every week, and you don't pay us. You pay our hotel and our flight, but you're not paying us to be here. And we're trying to do the best job we can to give you the best playoff that you can possibly have at the end of the year. And so, not that I'm trying one way or the other.
Sure.
I'm just telling you it's everybody's on the committee, but I'm just telling you there were guidelines put together by the commissioners when they all got together. Here's how this needs to be, and then you got to go forward.
At least they're flying the committee to tropical Frisco to enjoy all their meetings for free. That's beautiful. You're right, though, Coach. And before we get into our playoff playbook and down the road, actually,
you're saying that's not Italy.
Alabama and Oklahoma is where we'll start today. But just to solidify that point, remember last year. It was the conference champions, top 4 ranked conference champions, got buys in the playoffs. So they did. The commissioners met. They reversed that rule. It's like this season, you would have given a buy to Tulane. And that rule needed to be changed. They changed it. Certainly rules will be changed for next year.
Do we get rid of the automatic bids coming in the future?
I think I want the 12 best teams, personally. Okay. But then again, I can't trust the committee to rank the 12 best teams. We just saw, I think, again, BYU 11-1, better strength of record, strength of schedule than Notre Dame and Miami. But because of their logo, they got left out. I need to be able to maybe go back to the computer. I don't know. I don't have the answer yet. I'll continue to read the encyclopedia.
I keep telling you, Vegas.
Vegas knows. Vegas knows.
They have a lot of people working on it.
Yes, they do. Playoff
and kneecaps.
Yes.
Lee Sterling. There's no Lee Sterling today. He's a busy man. Alabama at Oklahoma is our first game to break down this week, right here on our playoff playbook. He is all-knowing when it comes to Oklahoma. Jay Smith of Locked On Sooners. Jay, it's deja vu all over again. Alabama and Oklahoma, we kind of just did this in Tuscaloosa, and that is where Oklahoma got the win on the road. Now they play at home. I mean, what do we do with this? Does Oklahoma just play the exact same game and win again?
I mean, if you really think about it, it makes sense to go with the same game plan if you possibly can, right? The last time you played them, sure, you were outgained by 200 yards, but if you really look at the details of the game, Oklahoma led that game for about 52 minutes of play. After the third quarter, roughly about the 12-minute mark, Alabama didn't pass the 50-yard line. So if your defense can continue to do that, yeah, you do it again. It kind of feels like Auburn as well as Georgia leveraged the Oklahoma game plan when they played against them and made it to where it was really, really tough on Ty Simpson and that Alabama offense. So, to me, I try to replicate it. I mean, it only makes sense, right?
Jay, here's my worry. I really do think Oklahoma has a national championship caliber defense. I don't know if the offense can get them there. I mean, if that side of the ball stalls this week, it leaves the door open at least for Bama.
No, you're 100% correct. The big thing for Oklahoma on this offensive side is that they've got to find a way to get some rhythm. If you watch the LSU game, you start to see that. The only problem is the one thing that we fear about John Mateer reared his ugly head was him throwing interceptions. But outside of that, he threw for over 300 yards in that game. That was his first time doing that for a while, right? Yeah. So the big thing you're getting out of it is it looks like he's getting more comfortable. And so in practices, the insiders and the beat writers were able to attend some Oklahoma practices this week. And one thing they noticed is John Mateer didn't have any tape on that thumb. As you all know, he had thumb surgery about 16 days before they played against Texas in the Red River rivalry in October. And so since then, he's worn a little bit of tape on that thumb. Well, it's not there. Also, Oklahoma's had 3 weeks off, and so the running backs, Troy Blaylock as well as Xavier Robinson, gotten some rest. The offensive line appears to get more healthy. Some of the players that we expected to play this year are no longer on the availability report, so it appears that they're cleared to play. So for Oklahoma, health has been critical, and it appears they're getting healthier at the right time of the year. It kind of makes me think about not fully comparing, but what Ohio State went through last year. Their biggest issue was they were dealing with injuries like crazy, especially on the offensive line. They were moving tackles in the guard and center in order to get them to play. Well, Oklahoma's getting healthy now. They're getting healthy at the right time of the season. And so if this offensive line can produce some openings, I think these running backs can find holes again. And that may actually take some stress off of Mateer having to do stuff. Plus, John Mateer can run too. And so if that's the case, there's a chance Oklahoma's offense could surprise everybody this weekend.
Jay, we got about 15 seconds here. Give me a final score prediction if you've got one.
I'm going to ride with Oklahoma 20-10. It's going to be a low-scoring game, a lot of defense and special teams. So we'll let Titanium Leg Sandale win this game for us.
Love it. He is the expert, Jay Smith. Jay, thanks as always.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, I'm like an elephant. I don't forget things. I remember you said something to me a few weeks ago. You said that the toughest place you ever coached in as a TCU head coach was Gaylord Family Stadium, Norman, Oklahoma. Night game at OU.
Yep, 2008, Sam Bradford was the head coach. He was the quarterback doing it all. And it was, we had beaten them in 2005. So we came back. I mean, it would be like you and me standing this close together. Drake and the corner couldn't hear me talking to him. That's how loud it was early in the ball game. So yet, if you look at where their fans in Oklahoma look at it, been out of things for a couple years, getting their feet underneath them, I think you're going to see different than an Oklahoma program that, we're back in the playoffs. They'd been doing it for a while. They've been out. They've been struggling here for a couple years. I think you're seeing them back. I think there's a chip on the shoulder, not only from a football team, but from a fan base of saying, here, we want to go prove that we're back. We want to do it. And I think that's different. I think it's a big deal. If you look at Tuscaloosa and Norman, both teams play very well when they play at home. And so, I think the advantage goes to Oklahoma in this case.
Jesse, you told me off the air that Alabama's going to win this football game.
I did.
How do you qualify that?
Well, here's what I'll say this. If you just took both of these teams, and let's just say everything went right for Oklahoma offensively and defensively, and everything went right for Alabama offensively, defensively, it comes down to two things for me. It comes down to coaching, and then it comes down to quarterback play. And I just believe that Ty Simpson can be a little bit better than what John Mateer has been. And that's with everything being equal. I think that Kalen DeBoer is a head coach that is really, while he may not seem like he's fighting for his job, at every single turn, it seems like they want Kalen DeBoer out of Tuscaloosa. Yeah. So he's fighting for his job and to keep that relevancy. But also, if everything was equal, I just believe that Ty Simpson in that Alabama offense is just a tad bit better than what they have in Oklahoma.
Let's not forget, first time Alabama and Georgia played, Alabama wins the game. Second time they play, Georgia wins the game, they blow it out. We could be looking at a very similar scenario here where the coaching staff adjusts. Alabama loses the first matchup. A few weeks later, they go back and do it again, and they beat up on Oklahoma. That's very possible. We'll move it to the ACC versus the SEC instead of intra-conference crime. Miami, Texas A&M, and our playoff playbook is right here. He is Matt Gallatin of Locked On Aggies, the expert on all things Texas A&M. Matt, let's start here before we talk about the actual matchup the Aggies will play this week against Miami. Overarching theme in college football. We just watched Texas beat the number 1 team in the country, Texas A&M. Are we missing some of the better talent in America? We watched the Longhorns win against the Aggies and then be held out of the college football playoff. A&M gets in, and now they immediately play a Miami team who lost to SMU. What are we seeing from a 30,000-foot view?
Well, I mean, I think that it's inevitable that you're going to have to switch to 16 teams. I'm not saying Texas deserves to be in the field of 12. I don't think they do because, I mean, hey, don't lose to Florida, right? But they are one of the more talented teams in the country. I think that they have one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country in Arch Manning, who played phenomenally well over the last half of the season. Even in the losses to Georgia and Florida, I thought he played really well. So in terms of teams who are left out who would have had a chance to make noise, I think that they're certainly one of those teams that you can make an argument for. But hey, don't lose to Florida, right?
True. Let's talk Miami and A&M then. So the Aggies are coming off of that loss against Texas, 27-17, double-digit loss. For Miami, their 2 losses look a lot worse than what A&M gave you in their performance. Do you have confidence that A&M can just look at the tape from Miami's game against Louisville and SMU and just replicate that?
Well, I think that there's more of a chance that Miami looks at the tape of what Texas did against Texas A&M and they see some things that they can exploit. I mean, I'll give you a couple stats here right off the top, Drake. First of all, you know, in run, inside zone, or gap concepts, that's 78% of what Miami does offensively running the football. Texas A&M against the inside zone runs and gap concept runs, they allow 5.4 yards per carry. They also allow 5.5 yards per carry just overall, which is the 6th worst amongst Power 4 teams, and 3.9 yards after contact, which is 4th worst nationally. So if Miami replicates what Texas was able to do offensively, which is what they like to do, then it's going to be a lot of trouble for Texas A&M, I can tell you that.
Give me a synopsis of this game, and then, Matt, it is the early game that will be played on December 20th. Does that take the crowd out of it a little bit?
Well, I think that it's a little unfortunate that they don't get a night game at Cal Field for their first ever playoff matchup. I mean, I think that's what everybody wanted, but that crowd's going to be ready, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think that they're going to be there. I think they're going to be loud, and I think that they're going to really give Miami something they haven't seen before, because the biggest crowd that Miami has seen all year is at Louisville at 60,000. A&M's got 102,000 there at Kyle Field, so that should be something they haven't seen yet. And in terms of the game, I think this is really going to come down to the trenches. Miami's offensive line has been elite this year. They're 4th best in pass blocking. They're 10th best in run blocking per PFF. Texas A&M ranks 1st nationally in sacks. So something's got to give there. And I think that for Texas A&M to win this game, you have to stop the run in those concepts that I talked about with Miami, but also you have to get after Carson Beck. You have to move him off his spot because he is prone to making mistakes when he gets pressured. And if you get in his head and you rattle him a little bit, then he can make mistakes, and I think that's where Texas A&M wins this one.
Matt, you are the expert, all things Aggies. Thanks so much, as always.
Appreciate it.
Let's open it up to the desk here. Jesse, I'll start with you. We talk a lot about what have you done for me lately. Miami blew out their slate at the end of ACC play. I just watched Texas A&M lose by double digits to UT. I can't get that visual out of my head.
Yeah, and I get it, and I understand it. We live in that type of a world in a college environment where what have you done for me lately?
No doubt.
Let's not mistake this thing. Texas A&M has been a top 10, top 5 football team all year long. Yeah. And when you're talking about playing rivals, Texas A&M versus Texas, you can throw all that other stuff out the window when it comes down to the nitty-gritty and you have to go and win those games. Yes, they had a slip up towards the end of the year, but we can't just negate all that Texas A&M has been during this college football season. Texas A&M is still a really good football team.
Coach, A&M didn't beat a single team in the SEC who finished with a conference record above 500, though.
Well, at the end of the day, you can't worry about who you got scheduled, right?
True.
I think the biggest thing with A&M is that, and Ryan Day said this at Ohio State. He said, the chinks in your armor with the loss to Indiana. I think one of the things A&M can take, because your kids start thinking, well, there's nothing bad that can happen to us, right? And then all of a sudden happens, and what you hope happens, that all that happens, but you still don't get penalized, which A&M does get penalized. Yeah. Okay. Notre Dame did get penalized. And Texas did get penalized because you had those kind of games. But, I mean, Miami, if they come out and play like they did against Notre Dame at the beginning of the season, because I think Notre Dame is a big physical team, okay, maybe not the speed factor that A&M has, but I think they're going to have to do. And I think Malachi Toney's got to be a guy that's got to really fit into this whole thing because he has the speed factor that I think that will bother A&M.
Yeah, Jesse, do you give the edge to A&M playing at home?
That's a factor. I mean, like you heard Matt said, man, 102,000, that is noise that you've never heard before. And when you're on the road, you need to be perfect. The snap count has to be perfect. The call has to be perfect. And you can't get down on the road because that's when things get shaky. I do give Texas A&M a slight edge because of the home field advantage, but Miami's still a good football team. You guys know I'm an ACC guy. Yeah. Miami got to come out and be physical.
Well, and I'm not worried about Carson Beck with the crowd. He's been in those kind of crowds.
Yeah.
Who I'm worried about is all the young players that have never played in that kind of environment and that noise. If you've never been in Kyle Field, when they all come, they bring the thunder, then you've got something coming. So if the younger kids on Miami's team handle that, then I think Miami has the ability to be able to make it a great ball game.
Today's show is brought to you by Aura Frames. I've been hanging out with Coach Gary Patterson way too much here recently. He's using the words Riz and Aura. And if you want to truly master Aura, whatever that means, I'm sure he can explain it on College Football Kickoff, then Aura Frames is the way to go. Aura. Aura isn't just your average picture frame. You preload this frame with photos before you gift it. So when it's plugged in by a loved one, memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos, that's who this is for. Endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app as well. For limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off their best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter. auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE is that promo code for $35 off. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. Order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Aura Frames.
One of the most unique atmospheres in all of college football. Will host a playoff game this weekend at 11 a.m. Central Time. Coach, a whole lot of teams said, you know what? No ball game for us. We're good. Chalk it up. And I know that you had the opportunity to do that 20-plus years. You could have just said, you know what? No bowl game, but you didn't. You played them. Let's get into the future of bowl games in college football coming up on Coach's Corner.
Yes, it is playoff season, but even another part of this time of year is bowl season. I was a head coach at TCU for 21 years, and I would tell you this, a lot of bowl games, almost 2 decades of bowl games, bowl rings. Really, that's how we build our program. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of talk over the last 2 weeks about will there be bowl games in the future? And more importantly, all the teams that here at the end opted out. The 3 at the top, Notre Dame, Iowa State, Kansas State, that were bowl eligible. And then you had 7 more that were did. So you had 10 total of doing all of it. And so I guess I really didn't understand. I tried to reach out and find out why. But I would say this, and I did have a pro and a con to it. And I would tell you, the biggest positive we had about playing in a bowl game was the extra practices. It used to be 15. Usually you get about 10 with the way everything's going with all the extra games and everything that goes on. And we've always said this. It's not what they say in September. It's what they say in December. For people on their TV sets out there being able to watch teams play when you're trying to decide where you'd like to go to college and do it. And I would say nowadays in the portal world, of looking and seeing what kind of each position group, how they play and what they do, I think it's really important going. I don't think that changes. I would also tell you this, that the reward for a season, talking to some of the Power 4 schools, some of them say, well, if we're not in the playoffs, and who wants to go to a bowl game? Well, there are schools out there in leagues that probably have a very small percentage chance of ever getting to the playoffs. And so how do you reward their players? How do you help them move forward? How do you help them increase their roster and also grow their teams up? I would tell you that extra bowl practices has made a big difference going into the spring for me as a head coach, and I think as our football team was pretty. And I will tell you, when you watch Sports Center, whether you watch any of those other channels as far as what goes on, people pay attention, because I'll be honest with you, I go back and I've watched some of these games. I'm looking forward to seeing Missouri State and Arkansas State tomorrow night, because I don't know, they've had some good players on their teams. So why not to play? Well, a lot of players have opted out. You've got head coaches leaving, so you don't know who's going to be coaching it. You've got the interim head coaches doing it, and then they may be leaving. You have no leadership. If you lose the bowl games, then what would happen? You would talk to the TV networks and you talk about revenue, but to be honest with you, probably at a lot of those games, those universities, some of them they lose money going to them. But I would probably argue telling you that you can't pay for the advertisement you have of being on TV in late December and being able to play a game so people can watch. And I would tell you that in the recruiting trails and all the rest of it, the extra time of people seeing you, being around your players, because the ones that aren't going to play in a bowl game, their kids are going home after finals. And so what happens is they're talking to them on the phone, but the kids aren't around. Once school's out, they all go home, and then you really don't know what's going on with them and who they're talking to. So I would throw it out to you. I gave you guys the pluses and minuses to everything. You have a guy like John Summerall that gave $100,000 back to the NIL at Tulane. Yep. Going forward, he signed 2 classes, probably the most perfect way of doing it I've ever seen when somebody changed jobs. And then you have Lane, which, it's kind of like we took everything with us, and, you're not sure where everybody stands. So what's your guys'
Coach,
take?
here's my question, because I get where Baylor or Auburn and UCF are coming from. They're 5-7, right? Logistically, this is kind of a nightmare to say, hey, play a game in 2 weeks. Well, I already sent my kids home. Like, we're done. Football was over. We can't, a week later, be like, just kidding. It's time to play a game. I understand what they're doing. Notre Dame's players didn't opt out. They let us know within 2 hours, the selection committee keeping them out of the playoff, that they said, we just don't want to play the bowl game. We have our entire coaching staff. We have all of our players. We just don't want to play. That sent a message to college football. I think it sent a negative message, and that's somebody that I think, if I feel comfortable calling them out. What do you say about that?
Well, yeah, I would say this. I was very disappointed. Number one, I really like their head coach.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman.
Marcus,
great, right?
I like the way he handles things, the way he do it things. I think you get. I've already been in. If there's anybody that can say, I've already been in his situation,
sure,
where I'm having to stand out in front of our facility and talk to a camera in front of God and everybody, and say, being mad and try to take the high road, and this is how you do things. But our whole thing was, come back, we're going to go, I'm going to play in this bowl game. We're going to go, they put us with Ole Miss, which I thought they did on purpose because Ole Miss beat Alabama. We're going to show that we were right, that you're not part of the top 4 teams in the nation to go play in the playoffs. And here we win like 42-3, and we prove our point. And our kids still to this day, if you talk to our fans, still one of the greatest, the top 3 with the Rose Bowl, with the Alamo Bowl coming back from 31-0. It's right there with all of them.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's, I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's any negatives. The other group that's really hard is you have your freshmen that they just came to college. Okay, and then they get through it, and you get to go to a different city. You get a chance for them to practice there, to go out there, to get a chance to play a different opponent, and they get to grow up. There's a whole different learning experience that goes on for a young person when you get a chance to go do that instead of, well, I'm going to go home for Christmas.
Yeah.
This was really tasteful, by the way.
And for me,
can I ask you? I don't want to. I know you've already got the points circulated, but I think from a player perspective, okay. Yeah. There's a senior wide receiver who plays for Notre Dame.
Yep.
Who just said, Coach, what?
Yep.
I don't get 15 more practices with my guy. I don't get to play in a bowl game.
Yep.
And there's a freshman wide receiver at Notre Dame who's like, so that's it. Right? I mean, they took their ball, they went home.
Yeah. No, and that's the point I was going to go to, so thank you for that. But it's the guys that are, there's over 100 kids on these college football rosters, and a lot of them will never play another game of football again. I was privileged enough to have the skills great enough to go on and play in the National Football League. There are a ton of my teammates who never got that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so to say that we're not going to play this bowl game because your feelings are hurt, because you want to take your ball and you want to fold your arm up and say, oh, you didn't give me an opportunity to get. No, what about the kids that you're recruiting? Not only are they seniors, they're juniors, they're sophomores. These guys who have been waiting for these moments to play in these games. And bowl games used to be fun. You go into a bowl game, you get the gifts, you hang out with your guys, you build that camaraderie, you get those extra, practice times. But for those players who love the game of football, who've committed to you, whether it be walk-on, whether it be scholarship, guys who did not play all year long, guys who, or play minimal minutes all year long, who is committed to this program for years upon years, and as they're going out the door, you say, yeah, kid, our feelings are hurt, we're not playing in this bowl game. Have a good life.
Well, yeah, they get one more game to put on their resume. And another thing, like a lot of coaches, they're built in, assistant coaches built in, they get a bowl bonus.
Yeah.
To go play in a bowl game, and they get to do things. So I'm glad you brought up, all the swag that they get, kids get, and how they do things.
Still to this day, I played in the Continental Tire Bowl. I won a national championship too in basketball, but I still have all of that stuff as well. So all the stuff that I got from being a national champion, all that I got from playing in the Continental Tire Bowl, I still have that memorabilia today. We still share these memories and moments till this day. It's 20 years ago, Coach.
Well, and here's the other thing. So my last in 2020, the COVID year, like 3 days before we're supposed to leave to play Arkansas in the Houston Bowl, we lose all our defensive linemen. We're down to 2 defensive linemen, and so I have to come in and I have to say we can't play. I mean, this is a health issue.
That was COVID, right? They all had COVID.
Yeah, they all tested positive, and so it's one of those situations where then you got to call Arkansas. They're mad because they want to play in it.
Oh, yeah.
All of our kids want to play, and I got to walk into a room and say, "Hey, we can't play this because I can't go into a ball game."
Yeah.
Knowing that all I have is 2 guys left here,
Let's
but
be
I
very
got the
clear.
feeling.
That was a shut down the world pandemic was the only way that Coach Patterson would skip a bowl game.
That was an act of God.
But I would say to you, but the feeling was the same. For me, for my kids, I felt terrible.
Yeah.
Again, for your coaches, bowl bonuses, a chance to go to Houston, be able to hang out in a hotel. I mean, all of it. Now you're going to have a mask on. You're going to do all these other things that probably wasn't going to be quite as much fun. But yeah, it's tough, and so for me, I don't see. I think the positives outweigh the negatives. I guess is my point. There's a lot of coaches say, well, we don't want to be able to put a kid's resume on in a bowl game because now people are going to see it, so they can go get him in a portal. There's those that there's those because there's a lot of them now that they don't film their spring games,
right? Yeah.
Because they don't want people to come out and they don't want to be able to get a hold of their spring game or on TV so they can do it. So
a lot of people.
I get it.
Yep, Coach. Again, we all excuse you for missing that bowl game. It's going to be okay. Although I probably had a mean tweet or two somewhere in there about.
Oh yeah,
TCU
I promise you, I just didn't find him.
Let's go find that tweet. Skipping the game against Arkansas.
He was after me there for a while.
Yeah, I know. It was coming. Tulane, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, Tulane, no head coaches bowl, except it's the college football playoff. All that and more on our playoff playbook. He is the knower of all things ball. Stephen Willis, locked on Ole Miss. It's Ole Miss, it's Tulane. Look, if I'm going to have a first-round draw in the playoff, I either want James Madison or Tulane, and that's what the Rebels got, but they're missing their head coach, Lane Kiffin, now Golding in. I mean, a lot's happened the last 2 weeks in Oxford. I just don't see what happened in Game 1 being any different now in matchup number 2 between these two.
Yeah, and ideally, you would like a matchup like this whenever you go into a playoff situation. And you have the rematch, which means when all the chaos around the coaching situation is going on, you already have a game plan that's been basically prepared from earlier, and there's still some stuff in that game plan that they have not touched. I think that Ole Miss has the advantage in this game because of the offensive line and the defensive line, and anytime you are deficient on the lines, that is usually problematic in a football game. And then when you add into the fact that Tulane is below 100 in passing yards allowed, it's not a recipe for a successful day. But this is the biggest game in the history of the state of Mississippi. There's nothing. There's no pro sports. There's no bowl games. There's nothing. This is everything. And Ole Miss is going all out, drone show, laser show, as you would expect them to do. They're planning on having a coronation in Oxford on Saturday.
No doubt. Talk me through, and you've covered it so well with your show Locked on Ole Miss, the Kiffin saga, because that is going to distract the team even more than a normal coaching carousel move. Where does this roster sit now that Golding's been named the head coach?
I don't know. The one good thing with Pete Golding is basically the 2026 staff is almost done. And those coaches are in the building working on retention and the transfer portal and all the stuff they have to do right now, while the guys that were coaching the team this year are game planning for the playoffs. And in a world of 4D chess, Pete Golding might be doing that just a little bit. Now, there's rumors of Kejuan Lacey and Kevin Smith, and there's certain things that could happen, but I just don't know that anybody is there because everybody is so locked in on this playoff run with taking care of Tulane. And if you win that game, you get a Sugar Bowl matchup against Georgia. And anybody that knows anything about Ole Miss, the Sugar Bowl is a special place. There'll be 30,000 fans in that stadium for Ole Miss.
No doubt. Just a couple seconds left here. Stephen, give me a final score prediction for this rematch between Tulane and Ole Miss.
I think Tulane's going to do better than they did last time. It's going to end up being 38-24. Ole Miss doesn't quite cover, but it's the playoffs, so it doesn't matter.
Yep, Jake Retzlaff will be an X factor for Tulane, no doubt. Thanks as always, Willis.
Thank you.
Jesse, Coach. Jesse, you said it off the air, and I want to get into it right here with this one. The teams who are missing their head coach, or the guy who was their head coach all year long, or a couple coordinators, those are the teams that will probably struggle the most. So the teams you can't buy in the postseason. Yeah. If that's the case, this game is movable object against stoppable force because both these teams lost their head coaches.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, I go back to this is the perfect matchup for Ole Miss, a team that you've already played. There's a game plan already in place, like Steve was just talking about, and you do have the better athletes and the coaching staff that was under Lane Kiffin that's still there working for the bowl game. This one is a lot easier to handle.
Yeah.
That they'll get through. It's the next one, all right? If you win this game, you got to go face those dogs from Georgia. The Tulane one, I think this might be, to me, one of those glorified live practice runs for Ole Miss.
Coach?
Well, one of the advantages that Ole Miss has with this is that, Lane probably, at least the way the perception was, he was calling it. Where now you have a guy upstairs, Charlie Weiss, that now's still same terminology, everything, but you're going to have a different edge. They really don't know. Tulane doesn't know how Charlie Weiss is going to call a game.
Yeah.
They'll know a little bit. Georgia will know better if they win because they'll watch Charlie Weiss call this ball game. So one of the advantages that I'm pretty sure, because it's probably going to talk Tulane into going back the last time Charlie Weiss called a ball game, make him do extra work in the film work, see how he calls it. Third and long, how's he treated? Is he a screen guy? Is he a vertical guy? How do you do all that stuff? And so, I think it's an advantage because I think Coach Golding he's kind of taking the reins. He's got everybody going there, at least from a perception from the outside looking in. Whereas no matter what they said, John Summerall did a great job in the championship game. He's done everything, but Pete Golding's not having to do two jobs.
Where does Tulane find 35 points? They don't have a 35-point makeup roster. Not a coach, not a player, not a receiver, not a quarterback. They don't have 35 points on this roster that they can make up to make this game more respectable.
Leading rusher is the quarterback.
It's got to be a takeaway for them to have a chance that the ball has to get turned over by
7 or 8.
Yeah, it's just,
it has to be
when
one
you
of
look
those
at
kind of games. Agreed.
They don't have. There's not 35 points worth of players and coaches on this Tulane staff.
Well, so it's just like, again, I go back to the Wisconsin game. I knew that there was coaches that are going to be changed, so we ended up blitzing them. We got them in like 2nd and 12s and things like that.
Yeah.
Then that became an advantage for TCU because we were faster doing it, and it wasn't a go grind. 2nd down, okay, you get 4, so you still got 6. You got 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6. So they have to do something to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, Tulane's not the 11th best team in the country. They're not as good as Vanderbilt. They're not as good as Texas. They're not as good as... And I get it's a hypothetical thing. Oh, he's using the hypothetical. Maybe on a given Saturday, 2 out of 10 times they beat one of those schools, no doubt. I just don't think that's this weekend against Ole Miss. I really don't. Rooting for you. Yeah. It'd be cool to see for the love of college football.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is exactly where I go every single day. During the NFL season, college basketball season, college football season, bowl season, all of it. FanDuel is my spot, especially for live bets. Because let's say that I'm watching the big game and the Panthers are losing by 7 to the Saints. I keep thinking, I know the Panthers are better than the Saints and they're going to find a way to come back and win this game. But right now I can get them at plus 125 to win the game. What that means, I put $100 on the Panthers to win. I get $125 when they do come back and they do win. And live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up as well. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you with FanDuel.
Another playoff playbook, James Madison at Oregon. It's another group of 5, group of 6, group of 7, whatever, how many conferences that we have now. Playing on the road in Eugene, Spencer McLaughlin will join the show. You would have to be on the staff at Oregon to be more knowledgeable than Spencer McLaughlin, the host of Locked On Ducks. And the Ducks in the postseason against James Madison this week in the playoff.
Listen to the disrespect for the Dukes right off the bat.
Look,
my goodness.
They've lost their head coach. They've got a really good quarterback. They've got a dynamic quarterback. James Madison has a dynamic run game as well. But it's dynamic for the schedule and the teams that they play. Oregon's beaten the likes of Oklahoma State, who might as well be James Madison or an FCS team, but they've beaten them by 50-plus points. We've seen the Ducks explode against inferior competition. Will that be the case again on Saturday?
I think as long as the weather holds up, that will be the case. And by the way, let's put this level of respect on James Madison. Oregon at home as they were against Oklahoma State, a smaller point spread against the Dukes than they were against the Cowboys earlier this year. So hopefully Eric Morris gets them moving in the right direction for their meeting in Stillwater next season. But obviously a lot of attention on this opportunity for Oregon. They are 4 wins away from what they have never accomplished before, and that all starts on Saturday. And yeah, Texas Tech could very well loom in the Orange Bowl if they win. But you know, if the weather gets crazy, sure, I could see this playing out like a Wisconsin game that Oregon only won by a margin of 21-7. They led 21-0 in the fourth quarter and gave up a touchdown. And I think it could be like that, but only if it really rains hard. I don't think it's going to be that bad. And I don't think this JMU offense can go up and down the field against this Oregon team. They've got to limit possessions, kill the clock, and slow everything down and try to take the crowd out of it. But they have to get off to a stronger start than they have this year.
So I want you to put on your college football, Locked On college football hat here for a second and give JMU, and you have on your show given them a lot of love and talked about how this is a program that deserves to be here based on what they did this year and how the playoff is built, at least how the playoff's built. I don't even like to use Boise State, Oklahoma. I'd rather use Coach Patterson's TCU beating Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl, or UCF beating Auburn or Baylor, Tulane beating USC. We've seen smaller schools beat top 10 opponents. Is there a case that James Madison is right in line with one of those names I just mentioned?
I don't think they're quite there from a roster standpoint. I think they've had an outstanding season. And by the way, given the format and structure of the college football playoff this year, they do deserve to be in.
Yes.
Now, if I had my ideal format, would they be in the playoff? No, because I just take the top 12 teams and say no automatic bids for anybody at any point in time. But does JMU deserve to be in over Duke? Yeah, actually, I think that they do. And I'm glad that they've gotten that opportunity. It's huge for their program. I think the caliber of opponent that they are playing this week is going to be unlike anything they have seen this year. Their one Power 4 game was against Louisville. Competitive game, by the way. They went on the road to a good Louisville team. That was a tie game to start the fourth quarter. Most people just look at the final score and say, oh, they lost by 2 touchdowns. No, that was a dogfight there in Louisville early in the season. So I think they have some ability. Their coaching staff is very good. It's why Bob Chesney's been hired to be UCLA's head coach. I think the problem is going to come up front. And also the speed. I think there are only a couple guys on JMU's defense that can truly keep up with the speed of this Oregon offense with guys like Malik Benson, Jeremiah McClellan. Whether or not DeCorian Moore and Gary Bryant Jr. or Evan Stewart play at wide receiver, I don't think it makes that big of a difference for what the Oregon offense is capable of. They've been great without him for the last month. I think this is a really difficult spot for James Madison, and they've got to be able to avoid trailing by 2 possessions early in the game because they are not going to be able to go up and down the field throwing on this Oregon secondary.
Got about 20 seconds here, Spencer. Give me a final score if you have one for this game.
I do. 34-10. I think Oregon gets it done. I think the weather slows them down a bit, but mostly I think once Oregon gets a big lead, I think they'll take a good number of starters out of the game, just get to the end, be as healthy as possible going into the Orange Bowl against Texas Tech. Oregon wins 34-10 over James Madison.
The expert Locked On Ducks, Spencer McLaughlin. Spencer, thanks as always.
Yeah, you guys are very welcome.
Coach Jesse, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I kind of threw it out there as a joke. Like, man, if James Madison wins their conference title and Duke wins the ACC, JMU's probably in. We're like, ha, 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 ha. dominoes fell.
Yeah.
The Dukes are here. They're in the playoff. And we didn't know a lot about them, but I've gotten to learn the book of Wayne Knight running the football, right? And Sahir West, 7 sacks on defense. We've learned recently, very recently, but now we know. Coach JMU's got a shot. They've got a shot where they could shock the world.
Can you imagine this if Signetti didn't go to Indiana and take the amount of players he took with you that are starting for Indiana?
Yeah.
And then see what kind of team that James Madison would have played. But yeah, it's one of those things where the edge that James Madison has, no matter what you tell the Oregon players, they still think, who's James Madison? It was the same thing when we played in the Rose Bowl against Wisconsin. Okay, and you have to have somewhere for us. The reason we were able to slow Wisconsin down was you have to have a tremendous upside over somebody. Ours was a speed factor, so we could play man coverage, know that we could lag it, so I could always put an extra guy in the box all the time. The key is finding. I'm not sure if James Madison has any of those higher levels of what you do. So I think they've got to have a lot of things happen good to them, and the Oregon's got to have a whole bunch of things happen bad, and that doesn't usually happen at home.
Jesse, before you put to bed at night, there's that sweet story. There's that beautiful, the lullaby, or the David and Goliath. There are a lot of really good stories where the hero wins. The hero's about to get their ass kicked.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those things where, you deserve to be here, but on the other side of that door is a Mike Tyson punch-out. Oregon's bigger, stronger, faster. And, Coach, with all due respect to you and your TCU squad that went to the Rose Bowl and beat Wisconsin, you weren't playing in the NIL era, right? You weren't playing where the transfer portal was as big as it is now. So when you talk about the best teams that money can buy, the best athletes, the best facilities, the best coaches, all of that now is very prevalent in college football. And it kind of eliminates a little bit of that, the smaller guys, the underdog guys kind of coming up and rising up in this thing and making themselves known because they just can't afford to compete financially. And Oregon has all the advantages all across the board here. It'll take an act of God for James Madison to pull off this victory.
Nike versus the new guys. I like that. I like that. Oregon James Madison this week. Let's get into our crunch time selections. Some California almonds on the desk with us. We'll break down the games, the teams, the players to watch this weekend in the college football playoff. You're watching College Football Kickoff presented by California Almonds, the unofficial snack of football. Shaped like a football, fuels like a champion. Join us every week as we predict who will deliver when crunch time hits. Snack good, eat almonds. Alabama, Oklahoma, and Norman, Oklahoma. Coach, crunch time.
My crunch time group is Oklahoma's defense. That's who did it last time, and if Oklahoma wants to win, then they're going to have to play the same way this time also.
And for me, it's going to be Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson has to come out in this game, and he has to play like he was. Like we talked about him being a Heisman hopeful earlier in the season. Ty Simpson, for me, is my crunch time player in this game for Alabama.
The crowd. I've been to Gaylord Family one time. I was not very impressed. It was like a midday game, 2 unranked teams, Oklahoma and Baylor. Maybe Coach says it's the best crowd he's ever seen. So I'm going to go with the crowd in a night game on Friday here as my crunch time player of the game. Miami and Texas A&M. This one is 11 a.m. local time in College Station. Jesse.
I'm staying true to my ACC, baby. Let's go, Miami. You fought to get in here. They didn't want to have you in here, but you got in here. You have to represent the entire conference. It's on your shoulders, Miami. Malachi Tony, you got to go out there and play big this weekend. Miami is a physical football team. Miami heads to Cal, and he takes down A&M. Let's go, ACC, baby.
Coach?
Well, I think it comes down for A&M. It's going to come down to the quarterback. He can't play like he did against Texas. He's got to play a whole lot better. And if he does that, then I think because of the crowd and everything else we just talked about, I would give A&M a little bit of an edge.
I like Cassius Howell. 11.5 sacks this year. Crunch time player of the game. Very good, Texas A&M. Tulane, Ole Miss. I'll do mine first here. Crunch time player of the game. Jake Retzlaff. He's the offense for Tulane. Leads them in rushing. He is the quarterback. He played at BYU last year. Had one of the wildest offseason scenarios you could possibly draw up. I think he plays well. It's not enough, but Tulane keeps it close. He is the player of the game, though. Crunch time player, Jesse.
Yeah, my crunch time team will be Ole Miss. I think this is just a better football team all across the board. They faced Tulane and they beat them 45-10. I don't think Tulane has 35 points anywhere on their roster, on their coaching staff, on this team. This one will be a live practice for Ole Miss. come this weekend.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I want to pick the Ole Miss football team, too, just for the simple reason. All they went through, now they're practicing. Everybody's held their head high. Coaches have done what they need to. Coach Golding's done it. And probably you would lead with him being the crunch time person of the week, just because how he's kind of settled everybody down and gets ready to play.
James Madison and Oregon. This game, night game, Autzen Stadium, known for its noise. Coach, let's go right back to you.
Well, Oregon can't listen to we have an advantage. I think for Oregon, as they said earlier on the program, if you want to win 4 ball games, you want to win a national championship, then you've got to treat every game with an edge. You got to have a chip on your shoulder, and that starts with James Madison. I don't think you can do it like you did Indiana. Well, we've got the crowd background, we've got all this, and then Indiana came in and got after him. Now, I'm not saying that James Madison's Indiana, but I am saying you might as well start right off the bat. Understand, treat everybody the same. Understand, you go after him, you go for the throat as soon as you come out of the kickoff, and go about your business.
You know, we can all talk about talent and programs and facilities and all this type of thing. One thing that's a sneaky thing, and I've known this from traveling from one coast to the entire other coast, time zone.
Oh,
time zone.
Okay.
3-hour time difference that you got to go and play this football game. I know you get there a little early, but sometimes adjusting to that time zone can have you starting slow, and you cannot afford to start slow against this Oregon football team.
Fourth quarter kicks off. It's midnight in your mental clock. It's gross. That said, it's not going to faze my main man, Wayne Knight. And I've been watching Wayne Knight all season long for James Madison. He's been tearing it up in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, Wayne.
W Knight. That W is for win,
Wayne.
which is what Oregon will get. But Wayne Knight is my crunch time player of the game. Impromptu. It is crunch time in Arkansas State versus Missouri State. Coach, you're a ball fiend. You went and watched Missouri State practice. What's your inkling in this game of the week?
Well, it's going to be one of those things where you have a head coach that's there. Missouri State's head coach isn't. Again, you have another one. He's going to Coastal Carolina. And so, but having been in the meeting rooms, I think the staff at Missouri State is kind of taking that as an advantage to be able to show their stuff. So it's going to be fun. I thought they had a good plan.
The Xbox Bowl.
Coach loves ball.
Coach said it's going to be fun.
Coach loves ball.
It's going to be fun.
Coach loves ball.
Sadly, the hosts of Locked On Missouri State and Locked On Arkansas State could not make it this week. We'll get their recap hopefully next week. That is a wrap on this week's college football kickoff. This time, next week, we'll know who Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech will be playing in the playoff quarterfinals. Same time, same set, same unapologetic football energy. Big thanks to Coach Gary Patterson and to Jesse Holley for bringing the heat, and to you for riding shotgun with us. Enjoy all the action this weekend. Stay locked in, stay fired up, and we'll see you right here next Thursday on Fire TV.